Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Jay's Fit Down podcast. I'm your host, Jaden, here today with Coach Temario Baldwin. He is the host of the Underrated Sports Podcast, also is a recruiting coordinator, linebackers coach, man of many hats. So we're glad to have him on the podcast and give his insight on some certain things today and share a little bit about how he got into what he's doing. So, Coach, thank you for coming on.
Oh, man, no doubt, man. I appreciate you for having me on. Appreciate it. Always, love to be a part and support, what other guys have going on, man. So I definitely appreciate you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for your time. And so we'll get started here, guys. Before we begin, make sure you subscribe to our channel here on the podcast, on YouTube. We're also on every podcast platform, audio, Spotify, all those things. Let's check us out there. So let's get started. Coach, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, man, and how you got into what you're doing right now?
I got you, man. I'll try to keep it brief, man. It feels like a pretty long career, but I actually started my career back in 2008 at Warnersville Recreation Center. There was a man named Melvin Melton. That's always been my mentor. And I seen him on the news one morning, and I was thinking about, what I wanted to do, in life and what, certain careers and things that I was really good at. And I happened to see Mr. Melton on the news, man. He was asking for volunteer football coaches at the time. So I went and met with him. We had a pretty good conversation, man. And that's kind of where I began, laying the groundwork to be, a football coach. Which then a couple of years after that, I started getting into basketball as well, man. And then from there, it's just been hard work. And, I've been coming across great opportunities with great people, man, great men. And they've given me an opportunity to continue to pursue my career, and I'm forever grateful for those things, man. So I've been in it since 2008. It's 2023 now, so I've been in it for a pretty long time. I'm 38 years old, so I kind of got into the coaching game young. I'm still young now, but I did it, in my early 20s, man.
Yeah, and that's pretty cool, man. Coaching is something that a lot of people say they can do it. They say it's really fun. You really gotta love it to do it. It's you have that passion for it, right? So, what would you say is like your favorite part about being a coach? Like, what makes it just, pop for you? What makes it so fun for you to do?
Man, the thing that motivates you every day to do it is not the X's and O's. It's the relationships that you build along the way. Like I said, I've been in it since 2008, and coming from it and being able to come into coaching and understand the kind of the grassroots level of it all, understanding the importance of relationships with parents, how to communicate with parents, because you're dealing with younger kids. And so everything that you do and the information that you're given has to go through parents. So I learned to value relationships with parents, and I also learned to value relationship with kids as well. And so those are the things that I'm grateful for throughout my career. Of course, everybody wants to win and win championships and be known as a winner and build programs and be a part of great programs, which I have been. But the best thing about it, man, and the thing that keeps me going year after year, man, is the relationships and being able to see kids that you found them when you met them when they were young boys trying to figure it out. And then you watch them, they get into their 20s, 25s, 30s, and they become great people in society. And that's the thing that I care about the most.
Yeah, right. Just watching them grow into from young boys to men, right? It's just that transition, being a part of it as a coach. I used to play football, and having coaches there who don't just care about winning, but also care about your development as not just a player, but as a young man, also as a person, human being in this world, growing up. So I think that's huge as well. So, but to just talk about. Coach, you coach the linebackers, right?
Yeah, man. This year I'm coaching linebackers. It's actually my first year coaching linebackers. I've coached on both sides of the ball. So this is actually my first year coaching the linebacker position.
Yeah. So what would you say, this is your first year coaching, so, well, you might not, but what would you say is the most important thing as far as being at that position? Because that's extremely important. That is the especially the middle linebacker, that's the captain of the defense right there. They have to see everything and make sure, that everybody knows their assignments, assignment right, and go attack. So what would you say is the most important thing as far as being able to be the best you can be at that position? Things that you have to hone in on, fundamentals.
Man, when you think about the linebacker position, you kind of compare your linebackers to, your quarterback on offense, and that's the biggest thing, because to be able to play in the middle of the field, there's a lot of responsibility that comes along with it. Understanding the front, understanding others' responsibilities, where a guy's supposed to be, understanding fits, not only run fits, but also understanding pass drops and where you're supposed to be. So there's a lot of different things that goes into being a really good linebacker, and to, have a really good understanding of the game. And so the mental part of the game is very important. A lot of people like to focus on the physical part. But the mental part of the game is the most important, because they are the leaders of the defense. They are that quarterback on the other side of the football. And so they're in charge of a lot. And so being able to handle all of those things mentally become very important. And then once you have a kid that can understand the scheme and understand the different fits and what you're trying to do on the defense from the middle of the field and from being that leader, then you can start developing that individual as a really good football player. As we both know, over the years, the linebacking position has changed so much. As offenses continue to evolve and get faster and more athletes on the field, offensive coordinators are now doing a really good job of being able to use sideline to sideline and how they attack defenses. And so as the linebacker position has evolved, we kind of move away from those Ray Lewis type guys, and now you see more, athletic kids with an athletic build, guys that can run, that can do a really good job for you in space. And so those are, some of the keys and some of the characteristics that you look for when you're developing that linebacker position. Of course, you are going to have some differences in terms of size from guys that you like, depending on your style of play and how you run your defense. But I think, for right now, as where we are in the game of football, you do have to have those guys that are a little bit more athletic. They're still very smart football players, but now they can help you do more and cover more ground as these offenses continue to get better.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, the days of the Ray Lewis's and the Patrick Willis and those guys, we've shifted from those times now because offenses are so much more evolved. The spread, just throwing football a whole lot more, which means you've got to have guys who are athletes in space and they can be able to cover, in pass coverage, and move sideline to sideline very quickly. So, so who would you say some guys in the league that, you think are some probably the best linebackers in the league that you think are, they display this position really well, and they're good at their job?
Man, for me, man, I kind of start looking at guys that are really good. You start looking about, the Demario Davises. You start looking at, guys like Eddie Kendricks. You start looking at, one of my favorite young guys that's playing right now, and I think he's moving to DB this year, but Simmons for Arizona, Isaiah Simmons. I've been kind of following his career since he was at Clemson, and the versatility that he's able to play with. And those are the type of guys that I'm more so talking about when I talk about that linebacking position. Guys like that, man, that are just really good athletes. He's still young and he's still figuring it out, but I think he's going to have a really, really good career. And I think there's a lot of young guys in the NFL right now, and even guys coming from the college ranks, man, that are, kind of helping continue to shape and evolve that linebacker position for sure.
Yeah. You mentioned Temario Davis, who is he has been a staple of that position for a while now, especially going to New Orleans, where I really saw his career kick off. He was already good on the Jets, but when he went to the Saints, he brought that nasty to that defense that made them who they are. And I'm based in Atlanta, so I am a Falcons fan, so I have to watch that twice a year. Temario Davis wrecking up our offense every season. But no, he's great. He's a great player. Another guy for me, I'd say Fred Warner. I think he's the best middle linebacker in the league. I like his play. He's smart, very instinctful. He can cover. He can play sideline to sideline, which, again, like I said, you have to be able to do in today's league. I mean, don't you think it makes it so tough, though, because of how great these offenses are? And now new formations, and now again being because we're in a passing league now, right? So
Yeah, man, for sure.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, you think about it, like you said, with the offense being able to do, be multiple, you line up in, different formations and motions and different things like that, man. So, I think, as offenses continue to evolve, defense has to evolve as well. A lot of offensive coordinators nowadays, they like to use, a lot of RPOs, and they use RPOs to kind of, that's their new run game. You know what I'm saying? So, guys that we name, even, Hendricks from the Vikings, I think he's a really good middle linebacker, does really good job in the middle of the field, man. So there's a lot of really, really good guys in the NFL that's kind of setting the tone and helping that position to evolve, like I said earlier.
Yeah, most definitely.
I'm a Tennessee Titans fan myself, man. So
okay, all right.
Okay. Yeah. I hate to say that. You don't see too many of us, man. We kind of struggling a little bit. We're okay, but I think it's about time for us to kind of take that next step for sure.
Hey, I mean, I can't say anything to you, man, because again, I guess I'm a balance, man. So there's not much I can say to you, but see what you guys do, there in Tennessee this year. But yeah, like I said, it's just interesting. I think it's one of the most important positions on the field, other than quarterback. Because you have to see everything and know what everybody else is doing, including your job. So it's just getting guys to stay focused and disciplined and not bite. I think that's a big thing about it too. So
good deal, man. One of my favorite sayings for my guys at my linebacker position. I tell them, eyes tell no lies. You got to fit what you see. You got to drop it where you see. You got to utilize your eyes and be really good using your eyes in space to kind of know where you are on the field, being able to maintain leverage and those things. You got to be able to read your keys. When one key disappears, your eyes have to immediately shift to your next key. So it's a lot that goes into it, man. I don't want to say it's a tough position to coach, but it is just like quarterbacks. You have to be very detailed in what it is that you're doing. From the study of game tape, understanding formations, what do teams like, what do certain teams like to do out of certain formations. There's a lot that goes into it in terms of game preparation and even in practice. Monday for us, I think for us, Monday through Wednesday are very important days. Monday probably being the most important day of the week. And then Wednesday, in my opinion, becomes the next most important day because that's when you're trying to kind of have your dress rehearsal and see, what it is, the things that you went over on Monday, did it translate into Tuesday? And so Wednesday, everything should be clean and everybody should have a really good understanding of what's going on. So there's a lot of detail that goes into it. I'm definitely excited about, coaching linebackers and it makes me a better coach as well. I've coached on the offensive side of the ball for probably the last, I'll say 5 or 6 years. And so being able to come over to the other side of the ball and have a better understanding of, the defense, how the defense works, from the ins and out, even coming down to being as detailed as formulating a practice plan defensively. I want to kind of learn and know all of those things because it makes me a better coach. It makes me more marketable. And then it just makes me, I'm a better football coach for the young men that I'm leading, and I have the knowledge and the information and the tools and resources to be able to give those guys.
Yeah, I agree with you. So I don't know if you heard about this, Coach, but so they announced that, but it won't happen until next spring, I believe. But they're doing a high school football league. I don't know if you heard about this, where they'll have players who get the opportunity to come and play, and showcase what they can do. They'll pick them from, different schools around, country. It's something that I think the head of the USFL is running it. So something for them to do in the spring, and a good way to, I guess, get your tape out there to colleges and coaches. So what's your whole thoughts on this, man? What do you think about that, how that would turn out?
Man, the biggest thing for me, man, I'm always an advocate for the kids. And the reason why I say that is because kids are going to do and go where adults lead them to go. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And in a lot of cases, it's positive and it's also negative. I think that as youth sports, grassroots sports, high school sports become more lucrative in terms of money, exposure, there's always going to be, individuals or people that looks to kind of cash in on those opportunities, on the value that it brings. And I think, football, I also coach AAU basketball. And so I think football is slowly but surely transitioning to what AAU basketball is. One of the reasons why I quit coaching AAU basketball because it's just too much. It's too much involvement. It's too, it's a great opportunity for the kids. But if things are not being done the right way for the kids, then it's not going to do anything but hurt those individuals. Football is a different sport. I don't think football can follow the same path as AAU basketball can. I don't think kids' bodies are physically able to uphold, the physicality of the football game for a whole year. You're talking about playing a full football season in high school, which in most cases, if you go to the state championship, that's 16 games, which I think that's too much. From a full regular season, you're talking about 10 games. And then leading up to even playing games, you have a whole summer of practice and workouts and training and running. And that already does enough to kids, not only the physical appearance of their bodies, but it also does something to them mentally as well. And so I don't think it's a bad thing giving kids the opportunity to, gain more exposure and hopefully, turn their dreams into reality with an athletic scholarship. But I also think that we have to be mindful of the avenues that we're taking to try to help these kids. At the end of the day, the biggest deal in this whole thing that people are chasing is relationships. If you have the right relationships and they're genuine and you're looking to build the correct relationships with everybody involved and you have a really good circle around you, you don't have to send a kid all over the country to play football. You don't have to come and formulate these different leagues and have these kids, doing all of these things when they could be using that time to not only train and strengthen and continue to develop their bodies, but most importantly, get their nutrition right. Be able to, learn how to properly rest, learn how to properly stretch to take care of your bodies and all of those things that go along with it. Having these kids play more and more games, and we're now taking the focus off sheer development, you're hurting a lot of kids more than you're helping them, whether you want to believe that or not. Of course, you're going to have elite athletes. That's just, God has, physically blessed them with those tools. And then they have the resources to kind of take those God-given abilities a little bit further. But I'm also a big component for those second tier and third tier kids as well. Those kids won't get the opportunity. And so not only are we creating a gap, should I say, in terms of the elite athlete and the kids that are right up under them, these kids are also losing opportunities as well because they don't have the resources. They don't have, the circle around them that don't mind, investing in these resources that they actually need. And so I think if we take the focus and put the focus back on sheer development from a physical standpoint and also from a mental standpoint, we'll see more and more kids be able to, number one, reach their dreams of that scholarship. But then number two, we'll see a lot more kids stay safe and stay healthy. Kids are dealing with so many injuries, major injuries, minor injuries, soft tissue injuries. It's because, people are pulling them in so many different directions. We already have 7-on-7 football that's now becoming a phenomenon. That's kind of like AAU basketball again.
Yeah.
And so now you have kids, they're doing even more. And so anytime that you're doing more of something, you're taking away from something else. And a lot of these kids are just, they're just, flat out playing. And, it's unfortunate. And, they're getting injuries. And I'm not saying that's the only thing that's occurring, but, you're starting to see a lot of kids more banged up and beat up by the time they get to the starting line than they had been when they first started.
Yeah, and that's a great point you made. It's great for exposure. Obviously, we all know about that. But the thing about it again is, like, what are we valuing more? That's more important. Yeah, that's cool, but like you said, nutrition, know how to properly diet, eat right, get your protein amount in, things that those are important as well. Getting the proper rest that you need, because that plays a huge role. Because football basically is year round. You got the season, the playoffs. You get maybe a week or so off, and then you're back to winter training, right, and then spring practice, summer workouts, it all starts over. So
yeah, it goes over. Yeah,
it's
and it happens so fast.
we'll see how it does. I mean, it'll be interesting. Supposedly the league playing in this league, and it's I know it'll be fun for the kids, of course, the players. But like you said, I think we're putting emphasis on the wrong thing here. So I just want to tell you, yeah, that's a great point you make there on that.
No doubt, man, for sure.
Yeah. But thank you, Coach, again for joining us here on the show today. We appreciate your insight, and tell us where we can find your podcast at.
Oh man, my podcast, the Underrated Podcast, man, I've been doing it for about 3 years. It actually came to me over COVID. And I've been really blessed to have some really good young men on there. I've had some really great coaches on there, some really great trainers on there as well. And the whole goal of my podcast, man, is just to make sure that we, just give as much positive information and have an avenue for people to go to find valuable information and resources. So my podcast, man, is available. You can go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcast. You can go to Amazon Music. You can find it on Google Play, iHeartRadio. I have it's a blessing to be on so many different platforms. Here recently, like I said, I've been doing it for about 3 years in May. And so, I've been lucky, to have over 2,500 plays from the podcast, and for some people that might not seem like a lot, man, but, it's definitely a blessing to me. And I'm definitely appreciative of that as well. So, if you ever need something, really good to listen to, or you ever have questions about anything related to sports, dealing with adversity, academics, recruiting, a platform where you can actually hear the athletes give their testimony and give their stories, man. It's just such a blessing, man. So definitely reach out to me on one of those podcasts. You can follow me on Instagram, Coach_Baldwin_. You can also follow me on Twitter. I'm at _Coach_Baldwin_ as well.
Yeah, make sure you guys check them out. Great stuff there. And you can check us out here, same thing here on YouTube, and also every podcast platform. You can check us out there, audio version as well. We again thank Coach Baldwin for his time here and his great opinion, his great insights there, being a coach, being a part of this wonderful game of football. So thank you again for your time, man.
No doubt, man. I appreciate you again. Thank you so much, man.
Of course. Best of luck to you, Coach.
All right. All love. Appreciate it.
All right.